and unexpected. I am delighted to be here this morning with all of you. And to pretend this is an ice cream cone. It's one of the tools I was told years ago. Pretend if I froze an ice cream cone. Thank you all for inviting me to be here. This is, and I will just be completely transparent with all of you. This is the first time I've given a live in-person presentation since about 2 weeks before the lockdown. So you're my initiation. Into speaking in front of you. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. Before I give my presentation, I've been asked to give a affirmation for all of you. And so this is what came into me while I was sitting, trying to figure out. Some of the people, as I've discovered, are missing, so some of the information I sent forward is also missing as well. So this is the affirmation before I begin my presentation. I am divine light embodied as me. I am divine love embodied as me. Divine light through me lights the way. Divine love through me makes all things possible. We are in the midst of the greatest awakening this planet has ever seen. This came to me in December of 2019. I saw something coming. What I was being shown is that 2020 would be the year of hindsight and also the year of foresight. Now, I had no idea what that meant, but I knew that something big was coming. And I was given the words that humanity was about to experience a great shake awake. That's what we've been experiencing. Now, for those who don't understand, this is one of the most amazing and extraordinary things that's ever happened to our planet. If we're only looking at it through the eyes of fear, all we can see is that it's a horrible thing that's happening to our planet. Corona, as a friend of mine, beautiful, dear friend Joan of England reminded me this morning, means light. It is the crown. What has been happening with this corona showing up on our planet is that more light is flooding our planet. All of our crowns are being activated by this light. And those of us who recognize what this is really all about are understanding this is the light that is wanting to be made manifest into every human being on the planet. And to sit in gratitude, as difficult as it may be right now, gratitude for what this corona is doing for humanity. Our resonance, our desire for creating a new world, and we've been talking about this for years. How many of you have been talking for years about the systems need to break down? We need to create new systems. The systems aren't working anymore. This isn't working for humanity anymore. There's too much greed running the planet. And we've known for years that something needed to happen to collapse the old world so that we could create what's inside of all of us, wanting to be birthed through us. That's what Corona has done for us. It has started the breaking down that was so necessary for us to start creating what it is we really want, hi Zoomers, to create in the world. This is the gift that we've been given. What happened in 2020 is that and I love using this analogy, especially in spirituality, because we all understand it. The butterfly. The entire planet is going through its awakening experience, which is what the corona has done. It is our global awakening experience. How many of you have had an awakening experience? Yeah, it is an event that happens in our lives that brings us to our knees and forces us to wake up to what we're really capable of. It brings us home to the divinity that's within each and every one of us. And we wouldn't have that awakening to who we really are if we didn't have something that dropped us to our knees and got us out of our minds and back into our hearts and reconnected us to the divine. So that's what's happening on a global scale. People are being brought home to the truth of who they are, being pulled out of the everyday rat race and the greed and the run for everything we've been told we need, which is simply not true, because all we need is really right here, inside of every single one of us. That's why we sing that song. It's in every one of us to be free. The light is in every one of us. The way is in every one of us. We are being given this extraordinary gift to recreate our worlds. We've been talking about this new earth for thousands of years. In Christianity, they've been talking about new earth for thousands of years. Us in the spiritual community have been talking about new earth for as long as I've been around the spiritual community, and knew that new earth was coming. We knew it was coming. And here it is. We get to create it. We get to create it. We've been saying for years that we're the ones we've been waiting for. I've been spouting that for the last 10 years. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We've been holding the light for humanity and holding the love for humanity. And what I started realizing a couple of months ago is, wow, we actually are the ones we've been waiting for. This is it. Humanity's been waiting for thousands of years for this moment. This is our moment. This is what we came here for. This is what we chose to embody for. We are it. We the people. And we the ones we've been waiting for. The way we create this new earth that is wanting to be birthed through every single one of us is when we unify. This division that's been created is a false narrative to keep us from remembering who we are. There's a narrative out there that's trying to divide we the people from we're the ones we've been waiting for. And the truth is, when we unify, we will all together in unity create the world we seek. I've seen what this new earth looks like. It is beyond anything we can imagine. Well, the truth is, if we can imagine it, that means it already exists. It's just up to us to physically create it. And to understand the new earth consciousness that is part of divine embodiment that's inside of every one of us. This new earth consciousness that we are embodying and bringing forth by being who we are as divine light and divine love in human form is the consciousness of love itself. We all know that God is love. God is more than that. It is pure, absolute, unconditional, infinite love. It is the stuff every one of us is made of. It is the stuff everything is made of. There isn't anything that is not that. And we've been taught in our systems that we are separate from it. And when we start to remember we've never been separate from God, only our beliefs have created the illusion that we are, then we get to understand how truly magnificent and incredibly powerful every single one of us are. It doesn't matter what our belief system is, or what label we carry, or the shade of our skin, or our political preference or any of those labels that were created to divide us. None of us are separate. We may be unique emanations of spirit in this appearance of us all being different. We're all unique, yet we are not separate. Every thought, every belief, every conversation, every action feeds into the collective consciousness. And that becomes who we are as a collective of humanity. This is why we need to be so very, very careful with every thought, with every belief, with every word, with every action. That every word from our lips be loving, because that's what we're feeding into the collective narrative. That every thought we have be loving, because that's what becomes our reality. When we understand truly that we are source creating through us as us, then we understand how we are the creators of our reality. The world that wants to be birthed through us is truly magnificent. This one earth, new earth consciousness, not the same as one world. Note that those are two very different things, and it's important that we understand the difference between one world and one earth. Two very different things. One world concept takes us down the path of fear. One earth consciousness takes us down the path of love. We are all here to go down the path of love and show the way for all of those who have yet to find it within themselves. We are all the way, and we are all the light. We are the way showers for humanity. There are billions of people out there that are looking to us, whether we know it or not, to hold our light, as I say every week on my YouTube show. Hold your light so high, others can't help but see their own light. Because we know that we are the light embodied as us. It's up to us to shine it so bright that others can't help but see in the darkness. We are dismantling the darkness with who we are being. This beautiful selenite sword. This was given to me as a gift at Christmas. I've been waving it everywhere I go because it cuts through darkness. It cuts through the negativity. It cuts through the fear. And as I'm holding this, I'm being reminded to share with all of you to remember that you are all the light and you are all the way. And imagine yourselves carrying a sword like this with you everywhere you go. And if you saw the flyer before, you might not have, because of issues that happen getting my message across the airwaves to hear. But there's a picture of me standing on the beach holding a sword. It is one of my tools. It's an energetic tool that I use. And so for all of you, when you're out there throughout your day, imagine carrying this sword. Right? The light. And that each of you have within you the ability to cut through the darkness and to cut through the fear and to be the love that is calling inside each and every one of you to be in a higher and greater way than you have ever been before. In the past 10 years, we as light workers have been asked to hold the light, to be the light, to hold the space for humanity. This year, 2022, we are being asked to get to work. This is the year the light workers actually start getting to work. We are going to get to work physically creating the world we want to see. The new earth that is calling to each and every one of us. It's the reason you're in this room. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a way shower and a light worker. For some of you, it's been 20, 30, 40 years waiting for this moment in time. What does this new earth consciousness look like? It is the freedom to be true to one's self. And I put it that way because it's the freedom to be true to your true self, the higher self that exists within every single one of us. The freedom to be true to ourself, to know thyself, to be true to that self. To be true to that self in all things. Imagine being able to be your true self everywhere you go and with every person you meet. How often right now do we feel reserved about being true to ourselves because we're told we have to be a certain way? We're told we have to be a certain way. And even when everything inside of us says that's not true. In this new earth consciousness, we don't have to be what we're told we have to be. We get to be who we really are. We get to shine as bright as we want to shine. And be as big and as bold and beautiful as we want to be. That light of God that's inside of every person's heart is wanting to break free and be the light that every one of us are. That's what we begin to be in 2022 and moving forward. We get to be free from harm of any and all kind for all life on earth. All human beings, all sentient beings, all animals, all life, free from harm of any and all kind. Freedom from all fear-based constructs, confines, and controls. Right now, our planet is under the confines and controls of fear. For thousands of years, my understanding, approximately 11,000 years, we've been living in a fear-based reality. That fear-based reality has not allowed love to work to its full potential. Our own love, our own light is what is dismantling the darkness. It is what is dismantling the fear. Fear cannot exist in the presence of love, and darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. And the more of us remember that we are the love and we are the light, the sooner that fear and darkness will disappear. It cannot exist in our presence. When we remember who we really are. And all of those systems that are based in greed, fear, and control are going to begin collapsing. As they do, remember, this is about the metamorphosis we've been asking for. We will be building new constructs to replace those systems as they collapse. And all of those constructs will be based in love first, for the highest and greatest good of all humanity, rather than for the greater good of the bureaucrats and millionaires. We get to create those new models, those new constructs from the ground up. In 2022, we are building the foundations of those new constructs. How extraordinary it is that we get to help be the creators of this new earth from the ground up. In this one earth consciousness, we will all have the freedom to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and self-determined. No longer being told who we have to be and what we have to do and where we have to go and what we have to learn. We get to be truly self-guided. Now, of course, this isn't about being selfish. We've been told this for thousands of years, that you're being selfish if you think of yourself. That's another one of those fear-based constructs that were taught us to keep us from connecting to our true divine nature, which is the highest self in our hearts. It is about being what I call self-centered, centered within ourselves first, not at the expense of anyone else, but in the truth that when we are centered in our heart within ourselves, everything we are is expanded out through us, so that all of those around us are given permission to be centered within themselves as well. So I want to talk about this self in this new earth consciousness we're creating. It is about the higher self embodying into every single one of us, and that we build this new earth from this enlightened self. And through our self-determination, working together in unity with those we were once told were our enemies, we will create the reality we seek. Because in truth, all of those other people who may believe differently than us, look differently than us, act differently than us, are really not our enemy. We all want exactly the same thing: to live in peace and freedom and love and harmony and prosperity. The only enemy is fear attempting to divide us. Let's stay and remember that. What does this new earth reality look like? I've been given the gift of seeing what it looks like. I was telling Joan in the car earlier today, we actually were 15 minutes early, so we went for a little drive up the hills. And I told her that imagine in a few years the sky, the daytime sky will be almost a navy blue, because the air will be so clear, there will be nothing between us and the heavens. This is a love-based, heart-centered reality, where fear and all of its false controls cease to exist. And the only thing that exists is love, unity, harmony, and mutual support. All of our systems and concepts will serve the highest and greatest good of all concerned. Sovereign beings. Imagine that, every human being being sovereign. And if you don't know what that word means, I suggest you look it up and really sit with it. It is about each of us being the master of our own destiny and the master of our own domain. I'm going to come off a little bit on this domain. So we were told thousands of years ago that Earth is man's domain. And people have used that to misinterpret it as domination. The word domain means to be in care of. It has nothing to do with dominating the earth and dominating the animals and dominating women and dominating it. It has nothing to do with domination. It has to do with owning the truth that this is our dominion to be in care of and to take care of. And we'll begin remembering why this is our domain. We will have new education, healthcare, food, industry, living environments, and industries, all in mutual support of all life on Earth. We will have clean air, water, power, food, and wellness programs, all in harmony with every body and with the planet herself. So much of the world we see around us will no longer exist. And this will be a good thing, because so much of what we have in our world right now was built on the fear intended to control us. And we're not buying it anymore because we know who we are. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones who came here to set humanity free. We're the ones that came here to light the way for the rest to see the light within themselves. And I'm being reminded of one of the quotes, Yeshua, as I prefer to call him, was his true name, where he said, "Don't hide your light under a bushel." This is what he meant, to remember that we are all the light, and the way is within every one of us. And to take off those bushels of fear and be the light. Now, what I've been doing to be the light is a little bit different than others. I have a YouTube channel. I have on extraordinary guests every week. I had Neil Donald Walsh on a couple of weeks ago. I was so privileged to have him on my show, and we talked about his new book. So my way of being of service to humanity isn't necessarily out there creating new systems and building new contracts. I'm a teacher. That is who I'm called to be, as a teacher and a messenger. And so on my show, sometimes I do teaching, and sometimes I have on amazing guests. And I get to meet the most extraordinary human beings on our planet and have extraordinary conversations. And I'm an author. I've written 4 books. I'll share them really quick with you. I have Transcending Fear. This is my first book. This book was given to me by Spirit during my spiritual awakening, which occurred after the 2008 recession. That was my bringing me to my knees experience. And I found myself I lost my business. My husband lost his business. And my house was in foreclosure, and I was in bankruptcy. Both my children were diagnosed with learning disorders, and I was at the very bottom of a bottomless pit. And I had to figure out how to pull myself back up. And I got the prompting to get notebooks. And I had notebooks. This was before smartphones. I had notebooks in every room of my house. I had them in the bathroom. I had them in my car. And I started writing the messages that Spirit gave me. This book are the messages that, but at the time I called my inner counselor, gave me to heal my life. I had a very traumatic childhood, very briefly. I grew up in a polygamous cult in the mountains of Montana. And I was raised with every hurtful belief you can imagine about being a female. And I'm obviously incredibly patriarchal. And there I experienced some sexual abuse and physical and emotional, and ultimately what I then came to understand is spiritual trauma. And so this book was about me overcoming my spiritual trauma and recognizing how all the beliefs I grew up with were fear-based beliefs. So my primary purpose on the planet is to help people recognize fear-based beliefs. Once we recognize how our beliefs are fear-based and we can transmute them and turn them into loving truths, then fear no longer has any control over us. And then my next book was Free Your Spirit. The subtitle is 5 Steps to Becoming Fearless and Trusting Your Own Path. And this is for people who are feeling they need more courage trusting their path, because it's scary when we find out our path is different from the path we've always been told is ours, and then you realize, oh, I'm intended to go a completely different direction. And so this book is for people who are needing a little extra boost for trusting their own path. Then I wrote my book, Own Your True Worth, when I discovered that a lot of my issues were issues of unworthiness. And what I've discovered is unworthiness is one of the greatest plagues to the human experience. Part of that is because as long as we feel unworthy, we don't rise up to the true power of who we really are. We need to navigate our issues of unworthiness. When we do, and we become the true intrinsic worth as God embodied as each one of us, and no one and no thing can prevent us from becoming the powerful beings we were all born to be. My newest book I just finished in 2020 is Rise Up. This book is all about what's happening on the planet right now. I started writing it in 2019. I wrote it through the first round of Corona. And this is all about what's happening in the world. It talks about the Great Awakening and about the spiritual ascension. We are actually in the ascension right now. That ascension that's been forecasted for 2,000 years. We're it. It actually started in 1963. And we're now at such a crux. It has grown to now be unstoppable. According to a social scientist I met with in 2012, she said it's been growing by 3% a year since 1963. And in 2012, it started to hit that snowball effect, where it was unstoppable. Now in 2022, it is hundreds of millions of people all over the world that know that this is where we are. We are in the ascension process. Now, what it looks like for humanity is, going back to the butterfly story, that breaking down of all the systems we're starting to see is the butterfly going in and building the cocoon around itself. Collectively, the collective of humanity is in that cocooning phase. Some of us are ahead of the game and are creating the butterfly. Those of us in the spiritual community are creating the butterfly. Those of us who understand we need to stop the division, this divisiveness that's been created to keep us from unifying, is a false narrative. There's a sliver of us that's growing at such an expansive rate, it is unstoppable. Nothing can stop it. So we need to take our eyes off the problems and put our eyes on the solutions, because each and every one of us are the solution. What do we want our new world to look like? Get together with people in your community and say, what do we want our new school system to look like? What do we want our new education models to look like? Because it's actually not even a system. I've been told that the systems will be replaced by concepts unique to each community. What do you want your new education concept to look like? What do you want your new wellness centers to look like? Not sickness centers, wellness centers. What do you want them to look like? This is about each of us rebuilding our communities, restructuring them. And as we do that, those concepts then start to move out throughout our countries and then out across the planet. It always starts here, within ourselves, and within our homes, within our communities, and that spreads outward. And this is occurring right now all over the world. I was speaking with a client of mine yesterday on the phone. She lives in Canada. And she says, what can I do? And I said, start a movement. Start a movement. Now, I happen to be very divinely guided, and I actually know what the movement was she was being asked to start. And so I told her, this is the movement I'm seeing that you're being asked to start. And what was interesting is that all of the people necessary for her to start that movement started showing up in her life yesterday. And so we're all part of that. We can either start the movement or we get together with everybody who's like-hearted, as I prefer to say. Like-minded has only gotten us so far. Now we're being asked to move into like-heartedness, because this is a heart-based reality. And the old fear-based reality is doing everything it can to maintain control, because it knows it is losing. It's losing because we are so powerful. Because we remember that we are all the incarnation of God in every one of us. It is losing because we are remembering that we are all the light and we are all the way. It is losing because we are all remembering that we, with a capital W and a capital E, are the ones we've been waiting for. And this is the time that is calling for us. This is what we came here for. And we're remembering who we are. It's in every one of us.